Hello, today we're going to be going over the 2023 Della Terra East to West. It is the model 312BH, and we are going to be starting up front here with our tongue jack. You're going to have two switches on your tongue jack. The red one here is just going to be a light, so if you had to hook up night, you're able to kind of see. Then your other one is how you're going to basically level your trailer front to back and how you get on and off the tow vehicle. I do always like to recommend before you get off the tow vehicle to make sure you are level from side to side first. We normally use a carpenter's level right inside the doorway, but they do have levels that you're able to stick on the front and on the side of your coach to also do that for you if you wanted to. But you may have to put some blocks down to elevate the one side. We'll use that tow vehicle to roll onto those blocks. Just makes it a whole lot easier. Once you are good from side to side, then you're going to unhook from the tow vehicle. Make sure your chains and your breakaway cable, 7-way cable, everything's all unhooked. Pull forward and then level front to back with this guy right here. After you're good from side to side, front to back, you're going to lower the stabilizer jacks. These guys are located on each corner of the camper. They do provide a manual crank, but it is a 3/4 socket, so you can put it on a drill. It makes it a lot easier to work with. All right, next we're going to have our propane area here. There's two 20-pound tanks. These guys have both been filled, minus what was used to test the propane system with. At this time, we do not have no propane tanks on, so as you see, this indicator here is reading red. This regulator here is a nice regulator, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But basically, I'm gonna go turn this guy on, give this guy just a second, and then he should flip over to green. Come on. There he goes. He had a little delayed reaction. Nice thing, like I was saying about this regulator, is this regulator is actually designed to where you can actually have both tanks on if you wanted to. And once the one tank is empty, it will start drawing from the other tank. The only problem with that is that you don't know when that one canister is empty unless you come out here and look at this guy. Basically, it will be reading red because it ain't got no propane flow from the tank that it's pointing at. As you see, this notch here tells you what tank you're using. From there, just turn it to the other side, turn your other tank off, and then go get it refilled. Back behind there is going to be where our battery is located. Just a 24 series deep cycle marine RV style battery, pretty standard common. They do provide you a little light up front here as well if you guys needed it. It's just a little switch on the bottom. All right, as we come around to our side over here, basically you're going to have somewhat like your oil water station area a little bit. They do provide you your cable and satellite hookups. If you're using a campground cable, you do have to turn off that TV antenna booster, and I'll show you where that's located once we have stepped inside. Do also provide a 110 outlet here that is GFCI protected. Your battery disconnect, basically when you are storing the camper, you're just going to turn your key and it comes out, and it disconnects the camper from the battery, so that way if anything was left on, it would not potentially drain the battery. Nice thing with that though is that you do have a solar panel on the roof. This guy here is the controller. Basically, it just monitors the battery. Once the battery gets below a certain level, it allows the surge from the panels to come through to charge the battery for you. Once it senses the battery is full, it cuts that surge off so that way it isn't overcharging those batteries for you. And when we are plugged in, it's going to be reading basically it's going to tell us it's 100% full because it is reading that surge from our 110. Next, this guy here is going to be where you would hook up for your city water. You ain't got to leave your door open. This guy here actually will lift up so you can feed your hose through or your cables, things like that. But you want to make sure that you use a pressure regulator at the water spigot. From there, your options of an inline water filter and then your blue or white water drinking hose. From there, you hook that guy up. You'll be ready to use the water on the cold side right away. You do have to wait for the hot water heater to fill if it has been emptied before you get water from the hot side. We will talk a little more about the water heater once we have went around to the other side as well. And then they do provide you an outside sprayer here. It's a quick connect style. Your options are hot and cold water. You do also have another spray port on the back side near your outside kitchen area where this will also hook up to. Next, we're going to have our fresh water connection right here. This guy is basically gravity fed, so you just have your water hose, you stick it in and let it fill. Basically read the monitor panel inside so that when the tank reads full, you know to shut the water off. Overfilling over time can cause damage both to the exterior and interior where the line's connected on the back side of this. When you go to drain that fresh water tank, and it's even labeled right here as your freshwater drain, you're gonna have that guy right there. And we do still got a little bit of water in this guy. Basically open that up, start draining. And just trying to make sure I ain't overlooking something. That tends to happen quite a bit, guys. All right, so next we're gonna have our 50 amp power cord. It does come with the coach. But then we're gonna have our black tank flush. So this guy here is basically like a sprayer inside the black tank, sprays around, try to get all the nastiness out. All right, with this guy, I do always like to recommend you want to use a pressure regulator on the spigot. The reason for that is because on the back side of this is a plastic check valve. Too strong a water pressure can damage that check valve, okay? But then from there, go and get yourself a black hose. Black tank, black hose, it keeps it simple. All right, we got blue and white for drinking, black for our waste. Hook it up. As you see here, there's a caution sticker to make sure that your valve handle is open before you churn your water on. Okay, that is very important. If the tank is already full and you're like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and get everything prepped and ready, you get it all hooked up, well, you turn your water on while that tank is still full. What's gonna happen is that water is gonna come out of one or two places. It's either gonna come out of the toilet or it's gonna come out of the vent stack on the roof. Both situations though can be nasty. We'll just keep it simple like that. So before you would turn your water on, you're gonna make sure that you have your sewer hose hooked up to this. As you see here, I got my clear elbow because I was draining the water out, so I was trying to direct my flow of water. But basically this clear elbow will go on the sewer hose and then that guy goes into the ground. From there, you're gonna pull your black handle. Right now it is in the open position. That is the closed position. So you'll pull this open, start dumping, then turn your water on for the black tank, okay? Once the black is done, you shut off your water, shut off the hose, and then shut your valve. Unhook your hose from the water spigot. Okay, on the back side of this, there is a hose that goes to that check valve, but we don't know how long that hose is. But there was no pressure to push that water through the check valve, so that water is going to come out of the hose. The one thing to note though is that water never did touch your black tank, okay? So it's not that nasty of water. And then from there, you would open your grays to drain your gray tank. And I do actually have these labeled inside for which one is which. Basically, this one here is going to be for the bathroom shower. This guy here is your kitchen sink. And then your toilet or your black is going to be the bathroom sink and toilet. I do not know why they plumbed it that way. Alright, it does also say our low points are located right here. Oh, I couldn't see them. They're tucked out back here in the back a little bit. I don't know. Can you see those, camera lady?
I believe so.
Let me go ahead and...
I got them right there.
Here, what we'll do is I'll just go ahead and steal our camera and show you guys those. You got your red for hot, blue for cold. Basically, I always like to say you're going to use those guys whenever you're done camping. You open those guys up because we're trying to get as much water out of the camper as possible. But if you leave those open and leave a faucet open, as you drive home, that air is going to blow through the lines, push any excess water out for you so you wouldn't have water that got left in there that becomes stagnant or bad. It is always recommended that if your camper is going to be unoccupied for more than at least 14 days time, you do want to get the water out of there, okay? And then the other time you'll really use those low point drains is when you go to winterize your coach, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as well when we start outside. We'll talk a little more about the tires when we get to the other side, when we can see them a little better. There is a caution sticker or notice sticker on both sides. Basically, that's just telling you to check your lug nuts or make sure your lug nuts are being checked periodically. Once again, we're going to talk about that in just a few moments. All right, as we come around to the back side here, we do have our spare tire. It is pre-wired for an observational backup camera. And then you have the mount already on here for an aftermarket on-the-go ladder. Basically, it is a telescope style ladder, and then it's got two hooks that would hook onto that, so you're able to get up on your roof and inspect the roof. Okay, it is important that you do inspect your roof. They like to say every 90 to 120 days. But basically what we're doing is we're just going up checking the sealant to make sure that no air bubbles have occurred from pulling it down the road during the hot summer days when that sealant gets softened up, or if it sits at a, basically it always sits at a lot, over time from the sun hitting it, it will dry out and start cracking. When that happens, You just want to clean that sealant and then just put new sealant over the top. You can usually do that about 2 to 3 times before it is recommended. You want to completely peel that sealant off and just lay down a whole new bead of sealant. Usually over time, those multiple layers starts to defeat the purpose of what it's supposed to be doing. All right, as we come around here, we're gonna have our little outside kitchen area. Like I said, you got that little quick connect spray port. And then we're gonna have our outside grill here. Our griddle top's up top. I do always like to recommend going on YouTube and look up how to season a Blackstone, because you will want to season this griddle top before you start using it, okay? They do put a protective oil over this to try to keep it from getting rusted. So it does have at this time, that oil's starting to turn color a little. So I do recommend you season it. This guy here, though, is going to hook up to the backside, quick connect style as well. Basically, you push this guy back, locks on. I always give it a little snug to make sure that it doesn't pop out on me, because it sometimes will look like it's secured, but it is not. And then down here is where you would hook up your other end. Push that guy back, slide it in, make sure that it locks in, give it a little snug. Then from there, you just turn this valve here on the other side to the open position. Basically, it's going to allow the propane to come through, but what it's also doing is it's locking this in so it can't be pushed or potentially unhooked. And then from there, this guy here's got a spark igniter. You just turn, and then you just do that a few times until it lights. Usually, it will take a little bit if the propane tanks have been shut off. You got to get that propane to flow through, so it may take a couple of strikes before it will actually light. Then over here we got the little mini fridge, and you got a little area for storing. This guy here is just to help keep this guy secured during travel, and it is important that you do use this guy because they do not have this secured down. Basically, as you see here, it just slides back and forth. So you do want to make sure that you use this strap during travel, okay? Just that simple. Just that simple. All right, we're going to come back and talk about these entry steps and our door here in just a minute. As we come around, we got our 2 outside speakers on, so you guys hear these guys working. I'll show you how to turn these guys on and off once we have stepped inside. This is going to be your latch basically to help hold the door. You got one for the both front and the back door. This guy here is going to be the exhaust and intake for your furnace. There isn't really anything you got to do here. We just make sure that you don't try to block these so that it can properly breathe. I would like to recommend, though, you do want to get mud dauber screens. They're only usually on an average about $15, but that $15 can save you a headache if for some reason a wasp or mud dauber got in there and built a nest. You would have to have this thing serviced, and labor rates can vary from shop to shop. Okay, so just please be mindful of that. And it's all well over anywhere from over $140 and up, depending on what shop you go to. Do provide an outside 110 outlet and a hookup so you can bring a TV outside if you wanted to. So our tires here. With our notice sticker, this guy here says that you're wanting to make sure that you torque these guys to 100 foot-pounds at 50, 100, and 200 miles. I always like to recommend, though, when you guys leave the campground, the first place we usually go to is the gas station to refuel. While you're refueling, you can also check the lug nuts. You're knocking out 2 birds with 1 stone. This guy will be a 3/4 or a 19 millimeter socket, and you torque them again to 100 foot-pounds. All right? You also do want to make sure you do keep the tires topped off to their max PSI level, which on these guys are 80 PSI. Nice thing is these are nice Goodyear endurance tires, so you ain't got to look for that very small print on there. They actually got a good size right here that it tells you. The green caps show you guys got nitrogen in your tires, so they try to say it's supposed to last longer than air. I've seen numerous customers, when I try to explain that to them, they just kind of chuckle and laugh at me. Air is air, whether it's nitrogen or just regular air. They try to say nitrogen has bigger molecules so the air doesn't leak out as fast. But if there's a leak, there's a leak. All right. Next, we're going to have the water heater. So with this guy, this is gas and electric option. For the electric option, it's going to be located down here on the lower left-hand side. And right now our switch is in the on position, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that guy off. For the gas option, it is controlled from the inside on the control panel, and I'll show you that here shortly. Whenever we are done camping, once again, we want to try to make sure we get all the water out of the coach. What you're going to do is basically lift this guy to relieve the pressure, and then you're going to take this guy out down here. This is your anno rod. It starts out the size of a dime and will work itself down to the size of a coat hanger. Basically what it's doing is attracting the impurities in the water so it attacks that rod and not your tank. This guy here is a 1 1/16 socket to remove and to install. Next, we're going to have our awning here. We'll talk about this guy real quick. One thing that you do have to note is when the camper is going to be unoccupied or not being attended with by an individual, you want to make sure that you bring your awning in. Strong gust of wind or pop-up storms can damage the awning and the camper if you are not careful. This guy you are also able to adjust by simply grabbing right here, pulling down, create a pitch. All right. With that being said, this is meant to be as a shade protectant, and it should not be out when there's rain. Just push the guy back up a little bit there slightly. So, and then here we got our other storage compartment here. Basically, we got our customer's hitch and stuff in here. They're not going to be showing up till the weekend, so I even left all the information for them that they're going to need to get this guy all put together. But then you got that manual crank for your tongue jack and for your stabilizers. You'll see these guys, and these are through the coach. They are motion sensor lights. The 1 hash mark, the light will continuously stay on. The 2 hash mark is the motion sensor setting, so basically whenever you open this compartment door, the light will automatically pop open for you, and usually shuts off after 30 seconds of no activity. So these steps here are real nice and simple. You just kind of lift, pull, pull. And that's all there really is with those guys. Real nice and simple. So with this door here, you have 2 purple keys for your entry doors. I went ahead and labeled this one as a B for the bedroom or bathroom because they're both right here. And I even kind of colored it there so you guys can see. But basically right now, this is set up where our door handle is locked. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn that upward and open our door. When you go to lock this guy, the key turns to the right for the door handle. For the deadbolt, you have to turn the key to the left. You'll hear a click, but you're also unable to pull that key out. That key has to be back straight up and down to be able to pull it out. So if you go to lock your deadbolt and you think you locked it, but you turned it to the right, you're able to pull that key out. It shows you did not lock your deadbolt. All right, as we come back to our main entry door, we're going to have our entry steps here. So one thing you guys always have to note with these entry steps is that you have to make sure this is going to be flat with the threshold as possible. Too much of an elevation on this will cause both issues to the excuse me, to the door and the screen door if you are not careful. When you go to bring these guys in or to bring them out, you do have to make sure this door is basically opened up all the way. If it is not, this guy here can catch the door and cause damage to the door as well. But basically these guys just sit right inside here. It locks in and it helps keep it locked into place when the door is shut. These guys here, so you're able to adjust your feet, once again, to make sure that's flat with the threshold. A lot of times people will have these all the way in, and then when they bring the steps down, then they just slide them out because they just slide real nice and easy. So like right now, I slid it up too far, but just bring it out one click. It sits nice and flush. All right, as we step inside the coach, we got a little closet area right here. Keep your shoes down below if you like. We got a closet right here as well. And then our fire extinguisher. Up here is going to be where our control panel is located. So basically you got your battery status, fresh tank, which is now reading empty because we drained our water out. are black, grade 1, and grade 2. This here is how you operate the water pump. You're only using the water pump if you're using the fresh water tank. If you're hooked to city water, you do not need to use this guy. This one here is going to be for the gas option of the water heater. When you first turn this guy on, this DSI fault light will come on. Basically what it's saying is that it does not sense a flame. Once it is fired on propane, that guy will shut off. This thing will try to fire 3 times before that light would stay on, saying that it did not fire on propane. We got our interior lights, and then we got our awning lights. Slide room 1 is going to be our main slide. Slide 2 is going to be for our bunk slide room. And then our awning to bring it in or out, which we're going to go ahead and bring that in because we are getting some random gusts of wind today. And then, like I said here, I went ahead and labeled it all for you. Grade 1 is for the shower, grade 2 is the kitchen, and the black is the toilet / bathroom sink. I'm actually going to take this paper so you guys don't lose this. This paper right here, I'm going to stick that right up here in this little top compartment cabinet up here. Alright. So then as we come around here, we'll come back. Oh, we'll just go ahead and start where our TV. As you see, I already got this guy on. This is one of the smart TVs. So when you first turn this on, it does take usually about 30 seconds to a minute before it actually gets going and like will actually bring up the screen and all that. But when you guys get to a new area, you guys will have to scan for channels. Basically, to do that, you got your menu button here. It'll bring it up. Leave this and then go to auto tuning. You can even choose your signal type. So in the signal type, if you guys are using that campground cable, you would swap this to cable. Push back. There we go. And then go to auto tuning. When you go to do that, you do have to once again make sure you turn off that TV antenna booster, and he is on this side. So as you see, this switch is on right now. So you turn it off. It'll allow that cable signal to come through. When this is in the on position, basically it's considered the antenna is the primary signal source. So we have to shut that source off. And it locks in. Sometimes it will feel like you're about to snap a TV in half trying to lock those guys in. Don't freak out. Next, this guy here is going to be the remote for your radio. So we had the outside speakers on. That's actually going to be speaker zone 2. Speaker zone 1 is your inside speakers. You got to press and hold the button to turn it on and off. Usually it's about 3 to 5 seconds. You got your volume controls on this side. Change your radio station here. You're able to choose a USB hookup, Bluetooth, the AM FM radio. You can change the source because there's a couple different options there. Mainly for audio basically, but then you can preset stations if you want. I never really tell customers about presetting stations. The reason for that is basically as soon as you go to turn off your TV or your battery disconnect, it erases all those stations you have pre-programmed. It's just pointless to set them. And then your power button, if you just press it, as you see, it just mutes it. It does not turn it off. You have to press and hold. And then as you see, the light comes on in red, the whole display goes dim. Then our last remote here is going to be basically for our fireplace. We're going to have our power button to turn this guy on and off. Let me slide right here real quick. I'm going to turn this off so I can guys show you that. I heard the click, so it should shut off in just a moment. Basically, you got your power button. I'm not going to do anything else till my air conditioner shuts off. That way we don't potentially trip a breaker, which that should shut off here in just a moment. All right. Then you got your temperature setting. Basically, F1 is just that ambiance look. Then you got low and high. Timer setting from 30 minutes to 9 hours. You're able to change the color of the rocks. Come on. I ain't holding my tongue just right. There it is. And so you're able to change the color of the rocks. You're also able to change the color of the flames with the flame icon button. I like that one. It's always got the prettiest look. Oh, I am going to backtrack for 2 seconds right here. Right over here is where your LP/carbon monoxide detector is. All right, this guy is to be tested every 7 to 14 days. So basically, anytime you go camping, you want to test that to make sure that it's working. Just by simply pushing this button, we are performing the test now. And that's all there is with that test. A lot of these guys, they try to say they're good for 7 to 10 years. I have seen LP detectors go out before that time frame. But basically, if this is going off, you do want to try to take emergency precautions because it could essentially be sensing propane in the coach. So basically, for those precautions, what we're going to do is the first person out the door is going to turn off the propane tanks at the canister, okay? Next person out is trying to get anything in this camper that breathes out of the coach. But what you're trying to also do is open some windows. We are not trying to turn on any exhaust fans or anything like that. We're trying not to create an electrical spark, okay? We're taking just the emergency precautions at this time. Then we're going to get 50 feet away for 15 minutes. After that, one person is going to come back in the coach. And I always like to recommend to them, the first place you want to check is the stove. The reason for that is because the knobs are on the exterior side where somebody could generally be leaning up against them. And I'll show you guys that here in just a second when we get over to that stove. Because there's also a little nicer feature with that as well. But if you go, you check, you see that it's not the stove, you turn the propane on, it starts making a noise again. Turn it off and please have it looked at and serviced. It's potentially sensing propane in the coach. And the only two places that propane is actually connected inside of your coach is the stove and the furnace. Your water heater is connected on the outside of the coach. Okay? So please be mindful of that. There are other things that does cause an LP detector to go off as well. Basically, cleaning supplies, hairspray, and animal gases. Okay? So, once again, like I said, be mindful of what's going on in the area for why that could potentially be going off. Okay. Next, we're going to have our fridge here. We got the Everchill. It's a 12-volt style fridge. But basically, this guy here, it's what they call a multi-airflow. So this guy here will actually help cool the fridge area as well. Thing to note, though, if you have this too high, it will freeze the refrigerator. And they basically tell you refrigerator, freezer. So if you turn this all the way up this way, it will freeze your fridge, and the freezer will just be froze, but not that bad. They do have a recommended setting there. I usually go with the one line right past the recommended setting. So like I was saying, this is a 12-volt style fridge. So basically, you can have your settings down here by pushing the set button. You're able to change it from 4, 5, or 1 to 5. When I first turn these guys on, I always like to have it on 4 or 5 to get it good and cold, because these guys usually take about, they can take anywhere between 12 to almost 24 hours to actually get to proper temp. But once they are at proper temp, usually 3 is really sufficient. When you go to turn this guy off, you press and hold this button for 10 seconds, and there's even a little note on there that tells you that. And then it's going to flash because it's telling me that the battery is full, because it also monitors your battery. Nice little nifty feature there. But basically, when it, you got it unplugged, it's shut off. Basically, these two here would be lit up. Inside here is going to be the manual for that. They also provide you a little ice cube tray, a little egg rack holder, and then some of this other stuff is just extra parts that the factory themselves did not use. Alright, next we got the microwave, pretty self-explanatory. I do like to recommend that if you guys go out and you come back, you see the time has not been set on this after you set it. Look and see if there was a power failure at the campsite or if it was from the electric company, okay? Especially if you're in an area where there's a lot of campers, you will experience power surges, so please be mindful of that. You got our hood range where we got our light and our fan. This guy here is a glass covered. It's not a stovetop or glass stovetop. But I got this flipped down because here on the back side, you are actually able to store knives in that. Alright, so to the stove area here. So basically, like I was saying, there's some nice little features on this. You could tell if one of these guys was on. Basically, it'll light up red when it's on. Push it in, starts making the clicking sound right out the gate. So that's another thing you can always tell if someone's sitting there leaning against your knobs. Alright, right here on this side, this is where we're going to get a little complicated. So it says stove. So what that is, basically it's a little ambiance light here to light up these guys here. When you go to use the oven though, this has to be turned on. Okay? Basically, there's a sensor inside. So what you'll do is you'll turn this. It'll light. Once it's been lit, your temp shows up right here. And then you would set your temp. And then you got your timer settings. I have seen where customers have been bringing these back in because the oven is not working. It is important that this oven switch is in the on position because it will not allow the relays to stay open for that flame to come through. Down here is where our fuse control panel box is located. So basically everything that runs off our Sure Power or 110, so you got to be plugged in to use it, is going to be on your breakers. Everything that operates off the battery is going to be on your fuses. And they have everything right down here labeled for you, which is which. As you see, I do have this drawer taken out here. Basically, that is because we do testing, but I was looking for our water pump. So when you guys go to winterize your coach, this is where I thought I was able to easily access the handle, but I wasn't. But basically, there's a panel right inside here that gets removed. Right now, you have two white handles you can probably see. I'm going to go ahead and steal this from our camera lady so get you guys a better visual. This one right here is the one that you're going to turn when you go to winterize your coach. Basically, it shuts off the flow from the fresh water tank, and it allows you to use this hose right here that goes into your jugs of antifreeze to winterize the coach. You turn on your pump and winterize. When you go to winterize, though, the best rule of thumb is you're not turning one valve, you're turning three. Okay? Because you got to bypass your water heater as well, or else that antifreeze will start going into the water heater. With this guy, usually if you can get all of the water out of the coach, you can probably winterize this guy with about 2.5 to 3 gallons of antifreeze. These screws right here is what keeps that panel put on. I'm actually going to set those right there so we can put that back on after our video. Oh. Then we got our nice pretty little sink here. We do also have this right here. So most of the manuals in our owner's bag is just for the appliances. Our owner's bag's on our table there. We just haven't made it to that side of the coach yet. But basically you'll download, follow the instructions here. Downloads, I believe it's a PDF file for the camper. You just go into this app, put your camper information in, and then you'll get that file. And then you got storage up above as well. As we step here, open the door, we'll step into the bathroom area. Basically, you'll have your toilet here. I do have water in that right now. You always want to have some kind of liquid in the bottom of that seal so it doesn't get dry, rotted, or brittle. When that happens, smells start to come through. It won't hold water in the toilet, things along that nature. When you go to add water so you can do your business, you're going to lightly press on this pedestal. We're going to add a little water in there. You can do your business, then all the way down it's going to flush. I do like to always recommend if you take some non-stick cook spray, spray the bowl of the toilet. Helps everything slide down, makes it easier clean for the cleaner. Also, when you are using the toilet, you have to have a chemical in there. Alright, you ain't got to dump it in there every time you go to the bathroom. But before you start using the waste side of this, you're either going to use a liquid chemical or pouches. With the liquid, I always recommend you just go open it up, open your valve all the way up and say 1, 2. 2 ounces will treat a 40-gallon tank. If you go to use a pouch, I always like to recommend Fill this bowl up, usually about a quarter of the way with water. Put the pouch in. Make sure you see that pouch dissolve. I have seen many certain brands where the pouches have not dissolved. Then the chemical is not being able to do its job. Okay, so please be mindful of that. Then we got our shower here. Basically with this guy, you got this here that slides over. You know, I always do this as a test to make sure it doesn't pop open because, you know, you're always going to hit it with your elbows when you're washing. When you go to open this guy, from the inside, you're going to pull it forward a little bit and then pull towards you to release the hand, to release. And then this guy will work its way back. Our shower has a reduce button on it. Basically, this is so it reduces the flow of water so you can try to get the most out of your hot water heater. Your water heater out there is only 6 gallons. The average American uses 38 gallons of just hot water when they're taking a shower, so you're just outmatched out the gate. That button there is to try to help get you the most out of your hot water. And then on the other side is going to be where you got your sink and you got storage up above and below. This is where our GFCI is located, so there are certain outlets that have the GFCI sticker on them and they ain't working. Come and make sure this guy has not been tripped. Oh, and then you also got your exhaust fan that's manual, so you'll twist the handle to open it up and then hit your button. Then in the bedroom area here, each side is provided with a 110 and USB hookups for charging your phones and or CPAP machines. You got a little closet space here on each side. It's not very spacious, but then you got a pass-through storage up above as well. Each side also has its own individual reader lights. Then you have some storage under the bed as well. Oh. Good struts on that. Mm-hmm. This guy here is going to be our fire exit window. So with this guy, it's on a hinge. And it's designed so this window can fling all the way open so you can get out if you could not make your way to the door. There's a fire right down the middle of this camper where you can't get to the door. That was just a pun.
I'll go this way, you go that way.
Correct. We'll see who wins. Who's going out which way. So this here, so you can pull the screen out if you had to get out. But I look at it that if you got to get out, get that window open and just put your feet right through that screen. I'd rather hear that we got to replace a screen than someone received or got second-degree burns because they couldn't get out of the coach through the window or the door. This guy here is your gliding door here. Basically, it just glides and shuts.
Hello again.
Hello again. This is your lock. This does have to be locked during travel. Alright, then as we come around here to our slide area, you're going to have your dinette seat here. This guy does break down into a bed. Basically, you'll lift the tabletop up. You pull the legs off and they just sit on the floor. And then the table itself will sit on this lip edge right here. And then you'll take your back cushions and put it on here to fill in that void for your bed. And you do also have storage underneath each bench seat as well. Another USB hookup there. All these lights on the slide are push button in the center to turn them on and off manually. This guy here will also fold down into a bed as well. Move these guys out of the way. You just simply lift. And you are also able to pull this open. You have storage underneath here. A lot of times for your blankets, things like that. But then that guy just folds over like so. Real nice and simple. Sometimes you'll have to grab the back, kind of help assist it to get it back into place. Alright. So our thermostat here. This thermostat is going to control the AC here in the rear. I did not show you guys in the bedroom, and I'm sorry. But the air conditioner in the bedroom is manually controlled, and it's pretty self-explanatory. There's just knobs on there that it tells you low fan, high fan, low cool, high cool, and then you got a temperature setting on it. So with this guy here, you first push the button, it lights the display up. When you turn it on again, it'll turn the fan option on. You always want to make sure this is in auto. If this is in high or low, 1, the air conditioner will just continuously run. But 2, if you go to turn your furnace on, and this fan isn't set on high or low. The fan on the air conditioner will come on while the furnace is on. I've seen this numerous times where there's been complaints of the air conditioner running while the furnace is running. It's not the air conditioner running. It's just the fan running on the air conditioner. But it feels like the air conditioner because it's blowing in cool air from outside. Then after that, you got your air conditioner. Shows you a little snowflake. And this guy, I believe, goes down as low as 55, I believe it is. Yeah, 55. One thing to also note with this guy is you do not jam the buttons. There are foam pieces on the inside here. When you start jamming those buttons, it damages that foam on the back side, and then it doesn't touch the prong sensors like it's supposed to properly. So I've seen it numerous times where you'll try to go up with the temperature, and then next thing you know, you give it a swipe, and it shoots all the way up to its max setting. I believe it's 99 or 90. But I'm just barely touching it, and just kind of, and as you see, we're changing the temperature. Then our last one is going to be the furnace. It's got the little squiggly lines. And once again, you just adjust your temperature like that. Then to turn that guy off. And then off position, you can push both of these up and down arrows at the same time, and it'll show you your temperature of the coach. All right. Then as we step into our bunk room area, you're going to have a USB hookup, 110, and then our light switch. This one here, you turn on and off by hand. This guy is on struts. This can either be in the down position or up position during travel. It does not matter. Basically though, this guy here is another bed that lifts and flips down. Ow! Watch your fingers. There are pinch points. Ooh, got
okay?
That one good. Got that one good. You got your TV hookup here. Shows you where you can put your TV at. USB hookup on top and bottom, and 110s as well. These guys are basically stationary. You got another fire exit window back here so they can get out. And then you got storage down below and right here as well. I actually have my cleaner supplies in there right now, so I'm not going to open and show them to you, because I was hiding them from a nice little trim. Then you got your other gliding door here. Basically from there, we have made our way around the coach. Hopefully this video was knowledgeable and informational for you. If you guys do have questions, please feel free to call us, and we do our best to answer those for you over the phone. Thank you and have a wonderful day.